Good evening, everyone. How are you? How has the training been so far? How are the classes for you? I trust that you are getting value out of your invested time. And tonight, or depending on what time zone you are watching from, we are going to conclude this training. And I believe that at least one, two, or three people are benefiting from this. And tonight, we are going to even raise the value. Okay, so yes, welcome to class 5 in the Photoshop Immersion program, and I'm actually happy to be doing this and knowing that some people are actually benefiting from this. Yes, thank you for joining. Okay, so tonight we will pick up from where we stopped yesterday, and we just continue our journey. All right. This is our practice file that we have been using, and we'll continue from here. Please, in the comment section, you can just let me know if you can hear me. uh, Let me know if you can hear me. I believe the network can be better than this. I'll refresh this page. And okay, so the network is better now. All right. Okay, so we stopped on the foreground and background color yesterday as they relate to using your brush tool. Okay, as they relate to using your brush tool. And today we just continue with the layers panel. So everything you do on Photoshop, when you create a layer, it is registered on this panel as a unit. Please follow my mouse so that you know where I am. Every layer you create is registered on this panel as a unit. So you can see here we have black cup, we have layer 2 copy, we have layer 3, we have this portraits, and the name is kind of um what is the word for that? It's kind of truncated in the middle, but it's just hidden, not really. Here we have layers. And also what I need you to know is if I click on this little arrow, I can collapse the artboard so that we don't see the layers inside. So when you create an artboard, it is equally registered as a layer on the layers panel. If you look up here, this is where you know that this panel is active. If I click on the next one, which is a path, that one will be active as well. If I click on channel, the channels panel will also be active as well. So I'll click on layers and then we have it this way. All right, so your artboard will be represented as a layer as well, and inside of each artboard there are layers and layers. So when I click on this artboard 1, it is selected here, and you see these little handles on the edges and then on the sides, right? So you know that this layer is selected at the moment, the artboard rather. Now inside of that artboard are layers, right? So if I expand this layer by clicking this little arrow here, then you can see the layers inside. There is layer 1 that is just empty, which is like the first layer that we see when we created the artboard. Then we have the my head, which is a type or a text. When you see T like this in this thumbnail, it tells you that it is a text layer, and Photoshop is already telling you that this indicates that, watch when I hover my mouse on it, it says this indicates text layer. Okay, so when you see a T this way, you know that it's a text layer. When you see an image like this, you know that it's a it's an image. So the thumbnail can easily tell you what's in that layer. So if I click on this my head, it is selected on the layer on the artboard itself. However, you do not see the transform controls around it because we have unchecked it up here. So if I check this show transform controls, then you can see the transform controls around the layer that you have selected on your layer panel. Okay, so if I select on this one, if I click, then it selects the second one. If I click on this one, it selects the image. So the layer panel registers each panel as a unit here. Okay, first is that an artboard is also recognized as a layer, but inside of it are layers and layers. Now watch what happens even if I move this edge and a part of it. Look at my transform controls. My transform control shows that this layer extends into the second layer, this artboard one copy, but we can't see any part of the image in here even though it extends. That is because this image is presently inside of artboard one. So even if you move it around, until you take it out completely before you can see it somewhere else. Can you see? Before you can come in here. But as long as you just move it like this, you just move it like this, you haven't taken it out of that artboard, so it will still be there. And do not forget, like I mentioned, I think in the second class, that anything that is inside this artboard is what you can export. And yesterday when I explained or showed you how to export a layer, there is somewhere where we checked that you should where we instruct Photoshop to only export layer content. Look at it, where we say artboard content only. All right, so anything that is outside of this artboard will not be exported. So moving this image out like this means that when you export your design, if this is the only design you are, when you export it, this is all you will see. Even though the head is bigger than we can see, right? There is more to that head than the half that we can see. We cannot export and expect that it would show the remaining part of the image. Only what you can see at the moment will be exported. So the other part that is cropped outside is not included in the export. So that's a layer inside of artboard 1. Okay, artboard 2 also has its own layers. So if I click on this now, remember that I said before you can click and it will select, you must have this auto select active. You must check this box, right? So if I tap on it, it selects that layer and it expands the artboard, because it's like everybody here should know what an onion is, an onion bulb. So before you can reach the layer inside of that onion, you must open the first layer. Okay, so that is what happens there. You want to select this layer inside of the artboard. Now I'll first collapse this artboard. Because my auto select is on right here, if I click on this image, it will automatically select that image. Now watch that the artboard is collapsed. We can't see the content right from here. We can only see that okay, this is an artboard. For me to reach this image, it must open up the artboard. That's why I use that onion analogy. It must open up the artboard. So when you click on it, it will automatically expand the artboard so that I can reach this image. That is why it gets longer like this. You can see the other layers. Okay, so you can't pick this layer from the artboard without first expanding the artboard. If your auto select is on, then once you tap on it, it will expand the artboard and then select that layer automatically. Okay, so that is one thing about artboards. One thing I would do is I'll probably I'm going to create a new file, Control N, and then I'll select this particular dimension again. I'll double click to create it this way. Okay, so let me confirm if you guys can see, hear me. This network is funny again. I don't want to get used to bad network, that's why I keep checking. It shouldn't be normal. Okay, I'm going to refresh again. so we can be sure that we are connected. Okay. Um, Hold on, please. I think I may have to turn off my power saver on the device I use as my Wi-Fi router. I think when it's in power saving mode, it just tries to conserve the battery, and then internet may be messed up at some point. Okay, I discovered that yesterday. All right, so and then I'm going to switch to, yeah. So our network is good now. Okay. So having created two, please let me know if you can hear me. Those of you that are online at the moment. So you can just put in the comment section that you can hear me. And also remember to like this video. I didn't think I would ask for that, but please, if you can like the video. All right. So what happens is, on the this is a new document, and we have this artboard one with a layer one inside of it. This layer one is empty. Okay, so this is what will happen. I'm going to create a shape layer. I'm going to do a rectangle tool, and then I'll draw this rectangle, and it is black in color. And I'm going to draw a circle. Remember yesterday I said you can always create a new layer before you draw a shape, because if you are holding, if the first shape is selected while you draw another one, they may be merged. The two of them may be merged together, right? So one thing, you can click out like this so that nothing is selected before you draw, and then you have another layer. So we have rectangle one, then ellipse one. So we have two layers. I'm going to change the color of this to this kind of reddish wine or so. Okay, then I'm going to write a text. I'm going to write and type it as Ablad. Okay. Oh, what are the chances that I will misspell my own name? Okay, so I'm going to have Ablad, and then I put it here. So we have these three layers. We have the rectangle, which is a shape layer. We have the um, ellipse tool, which is also a shape layer, the ellipse, and then we have Ablad, which is a text layer. Then finally, I'm going to add an adjustment layer. I'm going to put a solid color, or let's do a gradient. So I'm going to add this gradient. Right, yeah, this is good for what I want to explain. So on the layers panel, okay, what is with this internet? I'm just gonna change my network to another one. Thank you. Yeah, connection successful, and then I'll refresh the page. I'm so sorry. This has to be fixed so that we don't waste our time trying to buffer and then getting discouraged and leaving the stream. Okay, so what happens from here is, I want to explain the essential things about your layer panel. Now look at the way this screen is. If you followed the creation of each layer here, we have four layers now inside of this artboard one. So I created a rectangle, I created an ellipse, I created the Abla text, and then I added the gradient fill to the page. Okay, now two things that are important on this layer panel is the fact that, one, this layer panel, um, it tells you about hierarchy and visibility, or positioning. In terms of physical hierarchy now is that this layer one, even though it is the first layer, this rectangle is the first layer that we created, it is the least in the hierarchy, because there are other layers on top of it. So it is at the base of the entire layer panel. It's at the base of the entire panel. Now, because my transform controls are visible right now, as shown, you can see the region where we have the rectangle, right? And even though you can't see it, you can transform it. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can scale up or scale down. Okay. Now, if I click on the ellipse tool as well, you can do the same thing. You can scale up, you can scale down. Same thing with Ablad. If I click on the text, we know it's a text because of the thumbnail. Then if I go to character, I can actually change the size to 72. I can change the type to book. I can do almost everything, but I still won't see that layer because the gradient map, I mean the gradient fill is covering everything. Gradient fill affects the entire screen, whether it is a gradient, anything in the adjustment layer in this place, whether you add a solid color, gradient, or a pattern, or you change the brightness and contrast, the levels, the curves, the exposure, the vibrance, all of these things, they affect the entire page or whatever is under them. So this gradient over the entire page and anything that is under it. So you probably are like, oh, but I added a text to this design. Oh, but I added a shape. So where is it? Sometimes, let me add another. I'm going to add another um, adjustment layer. I'll add a solid color, and now I'll change it to white. Can you see that the white has now covered every other thing under it? So visibility is affected on the layer panel, and then hierarchy. In fact, they are interwoven. Hierarchy, visibility, they work hand in hand. Okay, in the case of layers that are represented on your panel. So the more advanced in the hierarchy, the more visibility a layer can get. But because it is on top and it covers everything, does not mean that we cannot see the other things under. So if I click on this icon, this eye, then I can see what is under it, which is this under it. Now if I turn off the visibility for this gradient as well, I'll see the other things under it. Now Ablad is on top now, and Ablad is covering anything that is under it. You see now, wherever Ablad text is represented, I'll make it bold now. You cannot see what is under it. So any place where this thing intersects with the layers under it, it will cover that region. So we have Ablad covering a little part of this rectangle, also covering some part of the circle. Then we also have the circle that is on top of the rectangle on the layer panel, covering the rectangle itself. Okay, so the circle covers the rectangle. The rectangle covers nothing except the white background. Okay, I'll press Ctrl 0 to uh, zoom to fit. So the rectangle covers the white part of the background. Okay, so the way you arrange them, anything that is under can be hidden by anything that is on top. Okay, anything that is on top will be visible over anything that is under, even though there are some exceptions to that. For example, this Ablad, if I take the opacity down to 0, even though the visibility icon is on, you can't see Ablad on the screen anymore, because by clicking on Ablad and dragging this opacity down, changing it to 0%, it becomes invincible. I mean invisible rather. Sorry for that. I'm an Arsenal fan. We have had an invincible season before, so please take that. Okay, so it becomes invisible because you have reduced the opacity to 0. It's no longer, it's already transparent. Okay, so you may have to take it up to 100%. This is 82%. Take it up to 100%. Okay, now another thing is that if for any chance I change the color of this text to the color of whatever it is we have under it, let's say we change it to white. I'm going to click on this white and then it becomes white. Then it's not visible any longer, especially if this rectangle and the and are not under it directly. Okay, so now you may be wondering, but Ablad is here, right? The text is there, I can see it. When I click on it, I can see the transform controls, I can see everything. So why am I not seeing Ablad? If you are not patient, you may not find out early that the color of your text matches the color of the background. So where you put white on top of white, you cannot figure out where the white is. It's like pouring water inside water and trying to find the water that you just poured inside another water, okay, or poured into another water. You won't find it because they share the same properties. It is water. This one is liquid, is in liquid state. The other one is also liquid. If it were ice that you dropped inside water, you can easily try to pick it up before it thaws and then dissolves in the water. But now this is abla that is white color on top of white background, so you may have to change the color of the text to something else and then you'll be able to see it. So that is visibility. Either you turn off the eye or you turn it on, or if something else falls on top of that layer like this gradient, then you can't see anything again. Okay, so you won't be able to see whatever it is that is under. That is the way it works. I hope you understand what is happening to our network. This is not the network of my dreams. It's not the internet of my dreams. Okay, so let's move on. Hopefully this connects and gets better quick enough. All right, so no data. What's happening? What's happening? Refresh page. Ooh, this internet. I deserve better. Okay. Um, I don't want to change that internet again, the provider again, so that we don't keep missing out on what we are doing. Refresh page. Okay, let's proceed a little. So, what you can do in this case is you can, on your layer panel, when you click, the thing is you can change hierarchy and change positioning. The same way you can change visibility, where you can turn it off. Instead of turning this gradient off, you can actually bring it down. What you just do is click on it, you drag it down, you see that blue line popping up anytime you get to a region where you can drop that layer. So if I drop it here, it goes under our blood, right? Then now we can see our blood. Now I can bring it down some more so that we can see the circle, and but I can equally take the circle up. So I click on it, I hold my mouse and drag it to the top of the gradient, and then I can now see my circle. Then I can click on the rectangle and drag it to the top of the gradient, and now I can see the rectangle as well. Okay, so let's make it get a little more interesting. Now you probably have seen situations where you see a text. Let's say I'll change this text to road. Oh, I've not downloaded something like that. Let's say I change it to road and then I make it really thick. There is a message waiting for me, and